And welcome back to Solidarity Within. This is a series I'm doing of answering a bunch of questions that were put to me and a bunch of panelists during a conversation that Vits Activate was hosting, with their permission, of course. Let's get into it. Today's question goes, what informs dating? Is it preferences or is it just biases? For example, masks, dating femmes only, and vice versa. Do you think there's a line to be drawn between a preference and a phobia? So a few years back, a friend of mine and myself got on Beyonce's internet on this channel and shared our thoughts on why we thought feminine presenting women should consider dating other feminine presenting women. I haven't seen that video in a while, so I think it was titled, Dear Femme Lesbians, Please Let Other Femme Lesbians Date You. Do you remember it? Now, if you use internet analytics, YouTube analytics such as dislikes, likes, comments, audience retention, stuff such as that, revenue, the video did well and it was well received publicly. However, privately, that video caused quite a stir and I have since privated it. Reason being, after listening to the criticisms privately, it took me a while also to private it because I was like, I don't know if it warrants me deleting the video or privating the video. This is a lesson we could learn privately and move on with. But I think my views have somewhat adjusted from the things that were said in the video, and there was some harm caused. So I was like, okay, for those reasons, just private the video from the public eye. But one of my biggest takeaways from that private call in was that in a video that was meant to be encouraging feminine presenting lesbians to look into dating other feminine presenting lesbians, we spoke quite a bit about masculine presenting lesbians. And really the core of the criticism was, no one is saying don't share your preferences. No one is saying don't date or encourage other femme lesbians to date each other. The issue is, if you're talking to femme lesbians, why drag masc lesbians into it, right? To which, I mean, in hindsight now, I agree. It perpetuates a specific narrative about masc lesbians, about butchness, about masculinity within queer women and queer masculine presenting people, and it's just not helpful. So yeah, that's why I took the video down, and that's how I received the criticism. And now my stance is similar. I agree, and I agreed then. A little later than I should have, but like, yeah, at the end, I got the point. Yeah, so in that video, the criticism was never that you shouldn't critique masc lesbians, but it was more just, we can actually do video essays about each subsection of the community without it being at the expense of the other subsection. Shame. I'm so grateful for Auspetu and Usboni and Tools. Actually, they were so gentle and loving in calling me in, and I appreciate it so much. I learned from them as well how to call someone in without basically just emotionally assassinating them, which I appreciate a lot. Thank you so much, babies. If you're watching this, if you're not, it's fine. I'm sending out my gratitude to the universe. So to circle back to the question, my views now on preferences is just what I mentioned in this whole spiel I just did now, that you are allowed to have preferences. No one can fault you for liking what you like when it's not harming anybody. Moreover, you can actually express your preferences, albeit without dragging anyone else who doesn't belong in the conversation into it. A perfect example is, I often see on TikTok Black men who date outside of their race, unprovoked, will go into the internet and start listing a bunch of reasons why they're dating whomever they're dating who's outside their race, but they never mention why they love the person. They just list a whole slew of reasons why they don't like black women. And it's like, what are you talking about? Just talk about what you like and leave us alone. And yeah, that's where I stand on that. Also, if it can be helped, do the stuff privately, right? Before it reaches the internet, ensure that like your loved ones and people you commune with are aware of how you feel and why. And if it's warranted, then you can chime in on the internet. But truly, some of these things just can be left unsaid. And I say this because usually these preferences are based on stereotypes and bad press that's directed at a certain group of people. And it's this wild blanket approach to paint a group of certain people in a bad light when we know there's no way that this whole community behaves in this way. So to address the second part of the question, which is what informs these preferences and is it actually just bias? I did a video and I'll put it up here for you to go watch where I spoke not deeply, but like in depth about what I think informs preferences. So I'm just gonna, for this video. So I think what informs people's preferences is life experience, as well as, honestly, as cliche as it sounds, as silly as it sounds, it's what we consume in the media, on our cell phones, on TV. For instance, like I used to, not anymore because now the algorithm knows what I like, but I would scroll on TikTok and hear these wild takes from masked people. And I'd have to click the not interested button because I would sit there and be like, this is why people think a specific way about masked people. And it's actually not, personally, it's not how I am experiencing masculine presenting human beings in my life, in close proximity to me. And this is not to say that just because it's not happening in close proximity to me, it's not happening anywhere else. But what I'm viewing in close proximity is antithetical to what some people are saying on the internet. So that's what makes me not believe that, if you blanket everybody, this is how everybody behaves. Which is the thing that will now make you averse to surrounding yourself with a certain group of people just because of a specific view from a person who has like 1 million followers. And then the comment section just, follows suit and agrees with them without thinking it through. My community is so diverse that there's just no space for narrow-mindedness. Some masculine presenting people in my life are bisexual, non-binary, lesbian, straight. So it would be incredibly disingenuous for me to sit here and be like, oh, ama-masks, they behave this way, bonke bayafana, because that would just be untrue. I would be lying because I've experienced such a wide range of masculine presenting people. A perfect example of this is a friend of mine. You've seen her on this channel a lot, and then this is why I'm using her as a scapegoat. I'm so sorry. But Lerato, she is, for all intents and purposes, masculine presenting. It's in her walk, it's in her haircut, it's in how she dresses, it's in her work ethic, how she makes decisions, her pragmatism. It's in how she relates with her friends, her family, her lovers. She's masked, but Lerato is a princess. Also, she is so secure in her masculine expression that it doesn't threaten her femininity. The other day we were at SSS gyrating and dancing, having a good time, and I was wearing this beanie and so and I was talking on Instagram the next day, Uguti, I used to hate it, and so she comments on that video and she's like, the way you were wearing that beanie made you feel so masculine to us that all of us were basically twerking like on your crotch. And she was bending over twerking on me, and it was fine and it was great. And actually that day I did feel a little bit, on the masculine side, even though, I mean, I used to consider myself verse. I don't think about these things anymore, to be honest with you. But I say all this to elaborate on this point I'm making, Uguti. We think masculine presenting people are one way, and they're not. There is such a wide spectrum of how they exist. I mean, you think of soft masks, studs, butch people. It's all a freaking range of masculinity. It exists and it doesn't present itself the same way. Basically, the beauty of being queer is that we're not bound by the rules of heteronormativity. So the more you try to shove us into this prescribed box influenced by this heterosexual patriarchy infested thought line of thinking, the more you are going to be confused. Wena self, not Tina, wena, because we know who we are and how we live in our bodies. And it's not to make the straights comfortable, it's for us to be happy and to just exist, actually at base level, to just be. Just to use another anecdote, I once had a party, I guess, at my home. My nanny was there. Sorry, friend, to use you once again. And someone was feeling her at this party. And they were feeling my nanny, and my nanny was being my nanny, If you know, you know. And then towards the end of the night, this person comes to me, pulls me to the side, and they're like, "Hey, can I ask you something?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And they're like, "Is Manani butch?" And I was so discombobulated because I was like, huh? First of all, why is that a question you ask me? Why does it matter? Secondly, you've seen Manani. She is not somebody I would consider butch if she's standing there in the corner just minding her business. But once you get to know Manani, you will find out that she has this approach to life that is usually reserved for masculine presenting people or masculinity in general. She has these aggressor tendencies, relationshipically, romantically, and maybe otherwise that's private. But yeah, and it comes across to people who want to date her. And in hindsight, I think that's why that person was asking that. But I mention it to also elaborate on how we break the mold on what is perceived masculine and what isn't. So yeah, don't color us like a poodoo. And now to tackle the last line of the question, which is, do you think there's a line to be drawn between preference and a phobia? So this one is tricky for me, and you can chime in please in the comment section, because I do think preference is embedded in bias, but to take it as far as phobia, I think you're gonna need a chiropractor for that, because that's a stretch. In that now privated video I spoke about in the beginning of the video, I remember my premise for doing the video being that I found that only masculine presenting people approached me, and I would have liked for all kinds of people in the queer community to find me attractive, to want to approach me, to want to be with me. And it felt as though feminine presenting people didn't F with me for reasons unbeknownst to me at the time. And so I tried to dissect what it could be. And I was also at the time still stuck in my own skull-sized fear of rejection prison. That was also embedded in a whole lot of self-absorbedness. Because why do you think people should be the one to ask you out? If you are feeling somebody, just go and ask them out, right? But that's where my mentality was at the time. And I admitted this much in the video. And I say this because this was my reasoning, that I don't want to box myself to being only approachable to a certain group of people, even though the video turned out to be something else or to be received in a different way. But the core issue was I've pigeonholed myself, or the circumstances had pigeonholed me to only being accessible to a certain group of people. And I didn't want that. I wanted the contrary, to have an array. The beauty of being gay is that you have an array of human beings that you can, be attracted to, want to mess with, want to hook up with, want to fall in love with. And I don't know, it just felt stifling that I was only attractive to only masculine people. That was the premise of the video. And it's still the premise of how I think about this subject of whether preferences are actually a phobia or just a preference. To take it even further, I don't even have a type. A lot of people have types. I don't. If you were to line up all the people that I've dated, all the people that I've had an interest in dating, or just being with, or just messing with, there is not a common thread, not a single one. And having said that, I look back at the people that I've dated, they absolutely make sense for who I was and where I was at the time when we were together. So I wouldn't change it just so that there's a uniformity in the kind of people that I date. I just don't have a type, period. I just like who I like when I like them for a myriad of reasons that are unrelated to anything really. But to get back to if when I choose who I'm going to date and who I choose not to date, if there's ever a phobia there, I would say no. Here's an example. Have you ever, I don't know, this could be just me also again, but have you ever had like a situation where, let's say you just broke up with someone and now you want to enter into your whole phase. You enter into your whole phase, maybe you double, maybe you fall in love, whatever the case is. But in that period where you are open to dating, to feeling people out, and then someone comes at you strong and they're like, hey, I know you're still dating, but I'm trying to cuff you. And for whatever reason, you decide, no, I'm still not ready for a serious relationship. I'm still feeling people out. Sorry, we can't be together. And then a month later, or even a week or two later, you are cuffed by somebody else. What do you call that? Like, I don't think that's a phobia. I just think sometimes the reason is even inexplicable, where you just vibe with someone and you're like, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to be in a relationship, but for whatever freaking reason, I mess with this person, as in I F with this person, and I know I said a week ago that I'm not ready to be cuffed, but by this specific person, I am. And there could be a myriad of reasons why that is. That is outside of, oh, I don't prefer that other person because I am phobic of whatever and whoever they are. But I do think if you are very particular about dating one specific, very specific type of person, especially over another specific type of person, then it warrants the question for yourself, by yourself, privately, to ask why. And if in your answer, it comes up that, oh, I date this one person because these other ones are this, and that, then you might be treading into phobic territory there, and you just need to introspect on the whys and fix it. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on preferences and biases / phobias. I'm looking forward to hearing what yours are. Bye. I'll see you in the next video for solidarity within. Bye-bye.